Hello, class. With these first few videos, I'm leading you step by step in how you grow from knowing English vocabulary to placing these words in the right order and creating sentences. I'm leading you through this process. Okay, and here I've created a visual of what we've been learning in the last few videos. So I like to call it the birth of a sentence. So first we start with words. The words become clauses. The clauses are either independent or they are dependent. If the clauses are independent, they can become a compound sentence. And once they become a compound sentence, they can also become a complex sentence. Now over on this side, if our clause is dependent, it can become a complex sentence, and then this complex sentence can possibly become a complex compound sentence. So this is a visual of the birth of a sentence, how we start out with words and then we can end with a complex compound sentence. And in between we have a different variety of sentences that we can write. To review, in my first video, I introduced the simple English sentence equation. It's subject plus verb plus object equals a sentence. This pattern creates the simple sentence. The simple sentence is made up of an independent clause. An independent clause contains a subject and a verb and expresses a complete idea. Then we have something called a dependent clause. This is a subject and a verb, but it's not a complete idea. It is dependent, kind of like a child. It depends on another sentence to be complete. Sometimes I refer to it as the baby clause. In the independent clause, I refer to as the adult clause because the baby depends on the adult. So by now, you know how to create a simple sentence. But remember, there are a few problem areas with writing the simple sentence. The big one is subject-verb agreement. Remember in my video, What is a Sentence? I talked about subject-verb agreement. Always, always be aware of how your subject and your verb go together. This is oftentimes the problem area for many ESL speakers. Let's move on. After you conquer the simple sentence, the next type of sentence you'll master is the compound sentence. A compound sentence is a sentence created from two independent clauses connected by a coordinating conjunction. Let's look at the different coordinating conjunctions. We have for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. For, the meaning of for is because. Mary can't run for she broke her leg. You could also substitute it and say Mary can't run because she broke her leg. Now, for is formal sounding, so we don't use it very often. Let's look at and. I think we're familiar with and. It just adds information. Mustafa likes riding bikes and he enjoys fixing them. Nor is used when there's a negative choice. She doesn't, does not, doesn't is shortened for does not want to work, nor does she want to stop spending money. So we use nor to replace or when it's a negative sentence. But shows contrast. I love to read books, but I don't have the time. Or gives you a choice. She can take a nap or she can watch TV. Yet shows contrast or difference. She wants to quit her job, yet she doesn't know where else she can work. Yet also is not used as often as but, because that also shows contrast, and we use but more often than yet. So shows cause or reason. The cat jumped, so it could catch the bird. Now, an easy way to remember all these coordinating conjunctions is with the acronym FANBOYS. F stands for, A and, N nor, B but, O or, Y yet, and S so. So let's look at a few sentences that are examples of compound sentences. The thing with compound sentences that is that if you already know how to write a simple sentence, it is a simple sentence. It's just two and they're stuck together with a coordinating conjunction in a comma. Don't forget the comma. Okay? So we have number 1. The sky was blue, comma, but it was raining. The air was clean and the birds were singing. So the important part here is I just want to make sure that I'm using the correct coordinating conjunction with the sentences. Now, if I say the air was clean but the birds were singing, it really doesn't make a lot of sense because it doesn't show opposition. Okay, you use but to show opposition, and that's what you have to make sure you do when you're combining these sentences. We can enjoy the fresh air, comma, or we can leave. It was raining, comma, yet she wore her shorts. It was raining, so we left the park. So here are some examples. And again, I'm not going to spend a long time on the compound sentence because if you know how to write a simple sentence, you will know how to write a compound sentence. The thing to remember is that you need the comma and you need to have the coordinating conjunction. If I just said the sky was blue, it was raining, and I had it in one sentence, it's going to be an incorrect sentence. Okay, so when you have two independent clauses, you need a coordinating conjunction. If you leave it out, it is incorrect. A complex sentence is a sentence created by joining an independent clause and a dependent clause together by using a subordinating conjunction. Okay, I know that's a lot of big words in that sentence, but what you have to focus on is the subordinating conjunction. Not to confuse it with the coordinating conjunction. Okay, this is a subordinating conjunction. And what these are just a group of words that are attached to the beginning of a dependent clause. They're actually the words that make a clause dependent. And I'm going to explain and teach you some of these subordinating conjunctions. Okay? So we have after, although, as long as, because, before, even if, once, now that, since, though, unless, until, when, and while. Now, don't be overwhelmed. There's a lot of subordinating conjunctions here. So we're going to take about 5 and we're going to learn them well. And then we'll move on to a few more. But first, let's just take a couple and look at them more closely. I have 5 subordinating conjunctions that I want you to learn. And there are 5 different ones that you can put in your pocket and then use in your sentences. So there's many options you can use for subordinating conjunctions. I'm trying to give you a digestible few. So a few you can take and really use, all right? So let's look at number 1. After the rain, the sky was blue. So the first thing that we're going to do is identify the mommy clause or the independent clause. And that's right here. The sky was blue. That's a complete sentence. We have the sky as the subject and was blue as the verb in the object. So then we have this part of the phrase, after the rain. And we have the subordinating conjunction after. And I think that's an easy one, before and after, we know how to use it. It's a time word. So after the rain is the baby clause. It cannot exist without depending on the independent clause. So the first one's after. The second one, while the storm was raging, I slept soundly in my bed. So where is the mommy clause? I slept slept soundly in my bed. In the baby clause, while the storm was raging. So this sentence, this part of the sentence cannot stand on its own, and while is the subordinating conjunction. And this means at the same time, okay? So we have after, we have while, during, and then since. Okay, let's look at number 3. Since I did not bring an umbrella, I got completely soaked. I got completely soaked, yes, is the mommy clause. Since I did not bring an umbrella is the baby clause. And if you look, if I remove the word since, and I simply had I did not bring an umbrella, that's a complete sentence. But because we have subordinating conjunction since, it makes it a dependent clause. Okay, number 4. He was wet because he forgot an umbrella. Where is the independent clause? It's right here. He was wet. And the dependent or the baby clause is here. Because he forgot an umbrella, with because being the subordinating conjunction. Okay, last one, number 5. They had an amazing time, although they got completely soaked. So again, we have the mommy clause at the beginning of the sentence. They had an amazing time. They as the subject, had as the verb, an amazing time is the object. Although they got completely soaked. So we have although acting as the subordinating conjunction. So if you look here, 1, 2, and 3 has the independent clause or the mommy clause at the end of the sentence, while the subordinating conjunction after, while, and since is at the beginning of the sentence. In 4 and 5, the subordinating conjunction is in the middle of the sentence, and the independent clause happens to be first in the sentence. So it really doesn't matter which order you put these in. You can have the independent clause first and the baby clause second, or switch it around. And if you notice though, when that subordinating conjunction word is at the beginning, you do need a comma in the sentence, okay? Here, we don't have a comma, we don't need it. So there you go. We have after, while, since, because, and although. And the meaning of these subordinating conjunctions are after is, before or after a time sequence. While is also the same, but while means during. Since is at that time. And then because shows a cause and effect. I am wet because I forgot an umbrella. And then although, it shows the opposite, right? So they had an amazing time, although they got completely soaked. You can even change it for like, but they had an amazing time, but they got soaked. Okay, so it just shows opposition. All right, guys, thank you. Lastly, we have the compound complex sentence. Okay, so I want to talk about the last sentence type. It's the compound complex sentence. If you know how to write a compound sentence and you know how to write a complex sentence, then you can conquer the compound complex sentence. Let's look at some examples. Number 1, after the storm, the sky was clear, so we went for a walk. First, we're going to identify the dependent clause in the subordinating conjunction. And this is the word after. After is the subordinating conjunction. After the storm is the dependent clause. The independent clause is the sky was clear. So we went for a walk. So is the coordinating conjunction. We went for a walk is another independent clause. Next, while the storm was raging, I slept soundly in my bed and the cat cuddled next to me. First, we'll find the subordinating conjunction. It is while. While the storm was raging is the dependent clause. I slept in my bed is the independent clause. And is the coordinating conjunction. The cat cuddled next to me. that is another independent clause. Number 3. Since I did not bring an umbrella, I got completely soaked, but I wasn't cold. First, find the subordinating conjunction since. Since I did not bring an umbrella is the dependent clause. I got completely soaked is an independent clause. But is the coordinating conjunction. I wasn't cold is another independent clause. The last one. He was wet because he forgot an umbrella, but he was still having a good time. Okay, so we're going to find the subordinating conjunction, and this one is because. So we have the independent clause, he was wet, and then we have because he forgot an umbrella, which is the dependent clause, but is the coordinating conjunction. He was still having a good time is another independent clause. There you go, guys. It's not as hard as it sounds. You have to take it one step at a time. You start with the simple sentence, move on, and end up with the compound complex sentence. You got this. Okay, let's look at an example of each type of sentence. Okay, number 1, the sky was blue. A simple sentence with the subject as the sky, was as the verb, blue as the object. Number 2, the sky was blue, comma, and I could see an airplane. So we have a complete sentence, the sky was blue, and then we have, and I could see an airplane. Now we know that and is not a subordinating conjunction. We know it's a connector. It's called a fanboy. I could see an airplane. I is the subject, could see is the verb, an airplane is the object. And is the connector. This is a compound sentence. Number 3, I could see an airplane because I was wearing my glasses. I could see an airplane, a complete sentence, because I was wearing my glasses. Well, we know that because is a subordinating conjunction. So we know that this sentence has a dependent or a baby clause and an independent clause. And so we know this is a complex sentence. And last sentence, the sky was blue, comma, and I could see an airplane because I was wearing my glasses. So here we go. We have the ultimate sentence down here, the compound complex sentence. And like I said, it's important to write it with all 4 types of sentences because your writing needs variety. If you write just the simple sentence, it's a little boring. However, I will say if these other sentences are very confusing, then master the simple, master the compound. And eventually you can learn the complex and the compound complex sentence, but I will encourage you that you really need to write clearly. So it's better to write a simple sentence if that's the only thing you can do. I don't want you to try to create the complex sentence when you're making a lot of mistakes. I think if you want to be 100% correct, for example, if you're taking a test like the TOEFL, you're going to stick to simple sentences that are 100% correct rather than trying some more difficult sentences. So this is a visual of the birth of a sentence, how we start out with words and then we can end with a complex compound sentence. And in between we have a different variety of sentences that we can write. But your ultimate goal is to get all 4 types of sentences down and you're able to write with all 4 types. Again, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and watch my other videos. Check out my website, www.plus1english.com, and contact me. And if you mention that you watched this video, you'll receive a promo code for being a first-time student. And you'll receive an entire free lesson if you can discover why the name of my website is Plus One. So use the contact box in the website and give me your answer. Thank you.